Hello, scholars. So, this is the video that goes with lesson 11. So, this is part one of your assignment. So, you actually have two lessons for 3 days, and then Friday's our check in day. So, this is going to be lessons 11 and 12. And I'm just going to do like a real brief overview of what you're going to do this week, and then I'll go into specifically lesson 11. All right. So, lesson 11 has to do with writing your conclusion paragraph. So, this video is going to be all about writing your conclusion paragraph. There's a separate video attached to this assignment for lesson 12, which is all about adding your works cited page. Both of these are classwork grades. You might think classwork doesn't really affect your grade, but we haven't had that many classwork grades. So, these two are going to make a big difference. And it's basically like if you do it, you get 100. And if you do part of it, you get, like an 80. And if you don't do it, then I have to give you a 0. So make me proud. Okay. Here are the objectives. This video, it just does the first objective. So we will construct an effective conclusion paragraph to wrap up our research essay. So when you go to Google Classroom, you're going to see the assignment. And we're in quarter 4, week 6, and this would be the 26th. And so it's going to give you both lesson 11 and lesson 12. We just need lesson 11. So you're going to watch the research essay conclusion paragraph tutorial video. That's this one. And then you want to make sure that you have open your research essay document. So that would be the one that you worked on and attached here last week. And if you can't find it attached here, maybe you forgot to attach it there and it's attached here. But either way, it should be your research essay draft. And then you're going to use the video as a guide to do your conclusion paragraph. So I have my essay open and I did everything so far, including the introduction paragraph. And now I need to write the conclusion paragraph. I have all of my body paragraphs, and now I need to write my conclusion paragraph here. So I'm going to delete all this Latin, and then before I do that, before I type anything, I'm going to just remind myself about conclusions. So this PowerPoint is attached to the assignment, and it's going to just tell you a little bit about writing conclusions for this type of essay. So first off, it's like the bread. So we talked about the introduction being like the top piece of bread to a sandwich, and the conclusion is the bottom piece of bread. So you can imagine how odd it would be to eat a sandwich without a bottom. So people expect when they read an essay to get some sort of wrap up or conclusion where they get to see that, the essay comes full circle and they get reminded of what was the purpose of your writing. So what is the conclusion and why do we need it? It should remind your reader of what you wrote about. Without sounding too repetitive, you want to just pull out some of the important things that you did write about. It should sum up your main points, and it should give your reader closure. Here are the do's of doing a conclusion. So you should restate your thesis in a different way than you did in your intro. You should help your reader feel like they're getting some closure and you're not just leaving them hanging. And ideally, it should be like a mic drop of the essay. It should try to end on a strong note and not just kind of like roll out and just sort of end. Here are some don'ts. Don't talk directly to the reader. Don't say you or I or me. Don't tell the reader what you just wrote about by saying like, this paper showed, as you see in this paper. That's not necessary. That's where you're going to sound really repetitive. So we'll look at some examples. Here's a good example. This is something that you would like to have your conclusion kind of look like. Adolf Hitler's childhood, failed dreams, and deeply ingrained racism all contributed to make him the worst possible leader for Germany at the worst possible time. That's the person's thesis restated. Had any other politician been elected at that time, it is hard to imagine that the same horrors would have taken place. When considering the complex figure of Adolf Hitler, it is easy to try to write him off as a creature of pure evil. Unfortunately, the more horrible prospect is there was nothing inherently evil about Hitler. There is something in some people that makes them capable of terrible things, and that often is not recognized until it's too late. And that last sentence is trying to do the mic drop effect, like, oh my gosh, we can't necessarily just determine right off the bat that someone's going to be a terrible leader. Now compare this to this don't sample. This paper has proven that Hitler was a despicable human being and a terrible leader. You can see that his childhood, failed dreams, and racist beliefs all contributed to make him the kind of leader who would start something like the Holocaust. And here, this is not what you want to do. It uses, like, this paper has proven, and we can see, it really takes 2 sentences to just reiterate the thesis. Whereas this one reiterates the thesis in the first sentence. They talk about, like, some hypotheticals. Like, well, if somebody else was elected, we could see that, like, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And we can try, maybe hypothetically we could say that Hitler was just this, like, purely evil person, but actually it would have been hard for us to determine that. So this conclusion sort of takes some hypotheticals and kind of develops the conversation in a way that provides closure. So let's do it together. We'll look at my example. So here is my conclusion. I'm going to type it underneath. I'm going to indent with a tab. And now I need to restate my thesis statement as the first part of my conclusion. So the way that I do this is I go back up to my top and I just take my thesis statement, which is the last sentence of my intro, and I paste it, and then I'm going to change it around. Okay, so my original thesis was that her tireless work as a spy saved countless lives during World War II, although most people don't know and appreciate the full effect of her work. So I'm going to need to restate this, but in a different way. So Virginia Hall might not have been well known during World War II. Despite the fact that Virginia Hall might not have been well known during World War II, her impact was felt widely in the lives of widely through her work as a spy. She was able to thwart or mess up Nazi operations and help advance the Allies in their quest to save lives and overcome Hitler's forces. Okay, so now I restated my thesis. It took me a little while. Now I'm going to do what this other conclusion did and do some, like, hypotheticals. Had Virginia Hall given in to the gender stereotypes and expectations of her time period. If Virginia Hall had given in to the gender stereotypes and expectations of her time period, we would have suffered and lost the benefit of her hard work in espionage. Hall is an example for young girls of the incredible, I already said benefit, incredible how about the word transformative? Hall is an example for young girls of the transformative change a person can make when they persist despite challenges and work to help others. And now I need kind of like that mic drop, which maybe my last sentence could kind of be a mic drop. But I want to just add maybe one more little punch at the end to really draw it all together. Oops. Virginia Hall will stand out in history for defying the odds and using her talents to help others. Done. So here's my conclusion. I'm just going to make sure that it does the do's. So it restates the thesis in a different way. Yes. It helps the reader get some closure. Yeah, because I'm talking more about hypothetically what would have happened if Virginia Hall hadn't done her own thing and kind of gone against gender norms. And then it has a mic drop because it does tell me that this is what people can learn and take away from this woman who might not be well known in history. So try your best, get your conclusion done, and then you can move on to lesson 12 and do the works cited. Email me or Mrs. Rudder if you have any questions or you need any help, but I think you got this.